as you can tell by how many tabs I have open right now, we have a lot to talk about. So let's get down to business, the aftermath of day one of the 2020 NHL draft. I'm going to talk about everything from the draft to signings, buyouts, trades as well. Not as many trades though to talk about. Of course, the first round went as expected. No major moves. A couple of trades from the Calgary Flames. The Rangers traded up once, and that's about it. Again, it happens every goddamn year, basically. That's why when something happens, like Schneider for Horvat, it's as shocking as it is. I think, of course, day two, rounds 2 through 7, of course, heading into free agency, we're going to see a lot more moves made. But 2020 draft, again, all in all, as you're seeing on screen right now, an unpredictable draft, which isn't all that surprising. We ended up getting 6 out of 31 predictions correct. But getting to the draft results here, number 1 overall, Alexis Lafreniere. No surprise there whatsoever. He is confirmed at an 82 overall in NHL 21, which is right about where I would have put him, 82 to an 83. Second overall, Quinton Byfield to the LA Kings. Now, again, there are some people who won't view this as a big deal, but he is now the highest selected black player in a draft, which, again, is great news. Now, there are people, there'll be people who argue, well, skin color doesn't matter or whatever, but obviously, you look at the statistics behind it. It's a big deal that Quinton Byfield was selected here, and deservedly so. He didn't go just because of the color of his skin. He's going to be an amazing player in this league. Third overall, we see Tim Stützle go, and he gets, again, one of the coolest announcements in draft history. Alex Trebek brought in by Eugene Melnick and I think his girlfriend or whatever. Of course, he went to the University of Ottawa, did Trebek, so that was awesome. Best wishes, of course, to Alex Trebek, as I believe he continues, of course, to fight cancer. So that was awesome. And Ottawa gets one hell of a player in Tim Stützle, thanks to the Erik Karlsson trade. Fourth overall, the Detroit Red Wings, no surprise, take the Swede. It's Lucas Raymond, good pick. And then things get a little bit crazy as the Ottawa Senators took Jake Sanderson, slightly off the board. There might be arguments about, Sanderson's more ready now. And of course, you can look at 1,000 different scouting reports when it comes to how good Jake Sanderson is. And of course, you could look too at the reports for Jamie Drysdale. End of the day, you have someone move who was, I would say, a consensus top 5 pick. Sanderson a little bit down the board. So an interesting pick by Ottawa. This is the trade or the type of pick in 5 to 10 years. You're going to look at this draft, and that's the first move you're going to see when you scroll down as far as on the day that was controversial. We will find out in due time if Ottawa made a mistake or not. But the Sens defense right now, hot damn are they looking good. They look good to begin with. But now, of course, Thomas Chabot is there. Eric Brandstrom is there. Even something like Max Lajoie is solid. But, of course, for futures, you're really looking at Lassie Thompson, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Bernard-Docker. It is such a damn good defense that Ottawa is building up there. So damn good for them. Damn good as well for the Anaheim Ducks, who may have been the big winners on the day. Jamie Drysdale falls into their lap. And that's what you're hoping for when you end up at the 6th overall pick, is that somebody, anybody, in those 5 spots ahead of you gets just a little bit itchy and goes, but I really like this guy. And that gives you the room to take a, consensus top 5 pick. So that's huge for Anaheim. The New Jersey Devils go a little bit off the board by taking Alex Holtz, but end of the day, I really do like the move. I mean, you're talking about the guy who could be the 1-2 combination with Jack Hughes in the future. Not exactly off the board. You look here at like the consolidated ratings on Elite Prospects or Bob McKenzie's ratings. He was a little bit down. Some people thought they might take Cole Perfetti, but end of the day, they go for Alex Holtz. I don't hate that move whatsoever. And then you get Buffalo. And this is controversial because you look at Buffalo and Minnesota going with Marco Rossi and Jack Quinn. And the argument I think that a lot of people have is that Rossi is the straw that stirred the drink on the Ottawa 67s. And people are wondering if it's a Nathan MacKinnon and Jonathan Drouin situation where McKinnon might have made Drouin look a little bit better than he actually was. Did Marco Rossi do that for Jack Quinn? We're going to find out. I know a lot of Sabres fans who aren't necessarily happy. In theory, it's not surprising that they took the wing. Clearly planning on keeping Jack Eichel at this point. But we'll see. I think Minnesota gets a really, really good option here with Marco Rossi. One hell of a player for sure. By the way, this tweet from Elliot Friedman saying, oh, Detroit's throwing a curveball. And then, of course, they took the Swede like we all expected. I'm not sure what's up with that. Again, thought it was a big W. And then we move on. Cole Perfetti ends up going to the Winnipeg Jets. Want to mention this as well. The pick announced by Crystal Howard-Chuck, the widow of Dale Howard-Chuck, which the Jets, getting ready to celebrate their 10th season back in Winnipeg. And very interesting, of course, 2020 has been just a god-awful year for so many reasons, but you look at celebrity deaths, whether it be Chadwick Boseman, in the film industry, Eddie Van Halen died yesterday, the day of the draft, so the music industry, of course, has suffered big hits. In the sports world, you look at Dale Howard-Chuck, especially for hockey. It's been a really rough year, but that was a really, really nice moment. And then we go to pick number 11, and as predicted, Elliot Friedman was right about this one, as was I and a lot of other people. Yaroslav Askarov goes to the Nashville Predators. Love this pickup for the Preds, and again, I'll tell you why. Pekka Rinne is getting up there in age. 1982 birthday. For those who can't keep track, he is 38 years old. And I got to be honest, while you do have Connor Ingram, who I like in terms of his AHL numbers, you just signed Devin Cooley as a NCAA signing. UC Saros at this point, 25 years old. I don't know if UC Saros is the guy, necessarily. He might be, he might not be. It's a tough call. It's not a bad thing to have someone now like Askarov in the system to back him up. You look at those numbers there. As Garrett Sparks can tell you, AHL success does not translate to NHL success. It's a very smart move for Nashville to grab Askarov when they did. Really, really like that move. The Florida Panthers end up getting Anton Lundell, which, perfectly fine. It's yet another Finnish center that the Florida Panthers have, though. It's kind of ridiculous. I'll give you a look. Look at the amount of Finns that they have. Now, Henrik Borgstrom did just leave to go back over to Liga with HIFK. Now, he does have a North American out clause. The Panthers still have his rights, which, of course, now, if you're talking like NHL 20, NHL 21, we'll have to remove those to make sure that he doesn't get automatically signed. But, yeah, Borgstrom, on the way out, you'd end up bringing in Anton Lundell, though. Seth Jarvis goes 13 to Carolina. I actually got that right. That was the 6th. Although, Jesus Christ, the webcam quality was not top-notch at that stage. And really, of course, that was one of the interesting things is, these guys celebrating at home with their families, different experience. Some of the webcam quality, though, pretty horrific. Edmonton at 14 takes Dylan Holloway. Solid pick. Toronto at 15 goes for the Russian, Rodion Amarov, even if there was an awkward moment with Morgan Riley standing behind Mitch Marner as he announced it. I like Rodion Amarov a lot, but I think a lot of Leafs Nation was expecting, okay, move the pick, get a defenseman, and instead they add another skilled forward that still allows you to deal from a position of power. Today, unless they made a big trade, you weren't going to solve the issues that the Leafs need to solve. A lot of eyes on what's going on in Toronto right now. Montreal at 16 took Caden Gooley, which is perfectly fine. The Chicago Blackhawks at 17, the poor guy that they had showcasing the jersey, the arm got stuck so you couldn't see the nameplate. But Lukas Reichel, if there is if there's a team that can develop European talent, Artemi Panarin, Dominic Kubalik, maybe Lukas Reichel is the next option there. New Jersey gets Dawson Mercer at 18. Good pick. And then the Rangers trade up at 19. Now, a lot of people thought, they traded up to rob the Devils of the pick. I don't know if that's the case. But at the end of the day, I really do like the Braden Schneider pickup for the New York Rangers. And then at 20, look, Shakir Mukhamadullin, whether or not it's Mukhamadullin or Mukhamadullin, as the dude said during the draft. I don't know if it's Mukhamadullin or Mukhamadullin, but I do love to say Mukhamadullin. And he was a reach. He was a reach. That is another one of those picks similar to the Sanderson-Drysdale decision where, for the Devils, we're going to find out. It's either this was a really, really good move, or this is going to go down as a pretty decent mistake. Time will tell. And speaking of that, the Columbus Blue Jackets decided to top them by taking Yegor Chinakhov. Now, you guys know from my roster editing tendencies, I pay attention to every prospect. I had never heard of Chinakhov. If there's a GM that can get away with making a pick like this, it's Jarmo Kekalainen. We'll see. Everyone's like, oh, he's an idiot. Why didn't he take the Finn Puljujärvi? He took PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois. That was a really good decision. So maybe this works out here. Now, it's a risk, too, because he's an overager. He's already 19 years old. You see here, nobody had him anywhere near the first round. 30th in Central Scouting. That doesn't mean you're a first rounder. Nowhere near the first round. Apparently, Columbus had him in their top 10. I mean, there's a good chance that Jarmo knows something that we don't. He has 7 points in 12 KHL games this season. Columbus, that's going to be interesting. Hendrix Lapierre goes 22nd to Washington. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. By the way, shout out to fucking Biceps here. We'll be talking about Marc Bergevin again in a little bit. I can't find the picture, but unfortunately with Hendrix Lapierre, there is a ridiculous injury history. He looks really talented. The kid has apparently had concussion issues. Maybe it was a misdiagnosed concussion. It was actually a neck and just a spinal issue. For Washington, and for his sake, I hope he makes it. That's a huge risk pick, though. Philadelphia takes Tyson Forster. Solid pick. Connor Zary goes 24th to the Calgary Flames. It was nice for Lanny McDonald to show up looking like the Lorax. That was pretty sweet. Justin Barron goes 25th to Colorado. Now, Justin Barron has his own injury history and very, very short ceilings and a fire hazard of sealing off a door. But if Justin Barron is healthy for Colorado, you want to talk about Ottawa's defense core? Colorado's Cale Makar, Sam Girard. You give up Ryan Graves when you probably shouldn't have. Connor Timmins has bounced back from injury concerns. Bowen Byram, now Justin Barron. Drew Hellison's looking decent. Colorado, man, they keep getting better and better. Jake Neighbors goes to St. Louis. Don't hate it. Jacob Perreault to Anaheim, again, to round out a very good day for them. New Jersey did very well. At least at first glance, those are two teams that did very well. And, of course, Ottawa did well, too. Ridley Gregg. Always thought it was Ridley Grieg, but he goes to the Sens to round out their picks. Vegas. Brendan Brisson looks like a solid player. However, apparently the word was you're shopping Fleury for a second, and some teams said, no, we're not taking Fleury unless you give us a first and a second. To me, would I have given up a second-round pick and Brendan Brisson to move on from the last 2 years of Marc-Andre Fleury's contract? Yes, I absolutely would have. Again, a $7 million cap hit for Flower. You're looking at a team that wants to be in on Taylor Hall, that wants to be in on Alex Pietrangelo. You needed to do it. I would have absolutely given up Brendan Brisson to get rid of Marc-Andre Fleury. If you're going to make a move for one of those top players, he's got to go. And I would have moved him at that point in time. Also, when Ridley Gregg was picked, hopefully it shows up there, his grandmother, just so you know what corner to look at, had a picture of him on a pillow. And by the way, this meme as well. Yegor Chinakhov. Incredible. Then we get the Dallas Stars selecting Maverick Bourque with the penultimate pick of the round, the Dallas Mavericks, if you will. And then San Jose, a really special moment at the end, selecting Ozzy Weisblatt out of nowhere. Really special moment there as his mother and apparently both of his parents are deaf. So you have the Sharks presenter, who I think it was Doug Wilson Jr., sign language and everything during that moment. It was really nice. And as I mentioned here with these tweets, Ozzy Weisblatt's interesting. Projected to be more of a second rounder, so it's not a huge reach. But what a family. Ozzy, Ocean, Orca, and Oasis. Or Oasis. Oh, I love the Weisblatt family for name value when it comes to their children. So overall, thus far, 19 Canadians, a huge bounce back from last year's draft. The first round involved very few Canadians, very American heavy. 4 Russians, 2 Germans, 2 Swedes, 2 Americans, 1 Austrian, and 1 Finn. So very intrigued to see what happens in day 2. But round 1, I mean, hey, this is a draft where I'm very excited. Like I said, 5 years from now, God willing, I'm still breathing. I'll be looking forward to recapping that particular draft. Other things I want to talk about coming out of the draft. Gary Bettman confirms that the league is aiming to start back up on January 1st. It would be amazing if that is the case. But, hey, time will tell. I don't doubt the NHL's ability to pull it off. You know, again, I talked about this in the Tampa video that pissed off a lot of people. The NHL, in terms of how they have handled the bubble and how they handled restarting their league, as this commenter, as Naive Hamburger put up, yeah, the NHL, in terms of how they handled everything, top notch, which is why, like I said, for Tampa to do what they did, celebrating in public like that, was a bit embarrassing for the league and for themselves. But yeah, hopefully January 1st, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. You know, we get November and December to chill, and then bam, brand new year, hockey's back. That would be sick. That'd be so awesome. Also mentioned by Bob McKenzie that Henrik Lundqvist is apparently going to sign with Washington, or at least the Caps are the favorites, which apparently he loves the red, white, and blue. I do want to shout out, of course, Jay Fresh Hockey here on Patreon. But with Henrik Lundqvist, there's no denying he's still a good goaltender. He absolutely is still a useful goaltender. And if you get Henrik Lundqvist on like a $2 to $3 million deal to back up Ilya Samsonov, man, Washington's looking damn good. The problem for the Rangers is you look at Alex Georgiev, you can't have this dude just sitting around. And of course, Igor Shesterkin. It's only one season to go off of in a handful of games, but Shesterkin was fantastic once he actually got called up. So, again, the Rangers had to do something. And, of course, I don't think they're crying right now. You ended up with Lafreniere. But, yeah, for the Caps, that could be a very, very good signing indeed. Wanted to shout out Matt Niskanen choosing to retire at 33 years old. It's honestly pretty surprising. He had 1 year left on his deal. And, again, I'm going to be using a lot of Jay Fresh's graphics here. Support him on Patreon. Of course, check him out on Twitter. But Matt Niskanen, a very useful defenseman. Not exactly overpaid. I mean, that is a tough player to lose on that blue line if you're Philadelphia, because Justin Braun just signed a new deal for less than what that listed market value is. So that's fine. Of course, Provorov's great, but now you really need someone like Phil Myers to step up. So it's going to be interesting. You lose Matt Niskanen. What exactly is going to happen for Philadelphia? Then, speaking of Washington again, Brendan Dillon signs a new deal, $3.9 million for the next 4 years. And yeah, that's about right. A solid shutdown defenseman. Big body brings the physical play. I like the signing for Washington. The Detroit Red Wings buy out Justin Abdelkader, which, that's fucking incredible. The Red Wings buy out Justin Abdelkader. For the record, I missed the Jack Johnson buyout yesterday or 2 days ago now. Yeah, thank God. Because as bad as you're about to see for Abdelkader's stats, Jack Johnson, of course, much, much worse. But Abdelkader, this contract, Jesus Christ. He had 3 years left. It had to be bought out. Absolutely had to be. And if you look at the Red Wings now, I mean, obviously, you have the cap space to buy him out. Why the hell not? They'll be paying on that deal until 2025, 2026. So while, the Red Wings are probably going to turn the corner right around here, or more so around here, they're still going to be paying for Justin Abdelkader. You had to do something, though. This might be the worst one I've seen yet. Absolutely horrific is the only way to describe Justin Abdelkader at this point. And, a player like him, you kind of knew when he fell off, he was going to fall off hard. And he fell off hard. Speaking of falling off, here we go. Josh Anderson for Max Domi and a third-round pick this year. Now, I can't talk about anything Montreal-related without being called a biased Bruins fan, and that is what it is, or without being called a Carey Price hater, that is what it is, even though I defend Carey Price and the Habs for being better than people give them credit for, but what are you going to do? This deal, though, I'm sorry, this is a Columbus win until proven otherwise. allow me to elaborate. Josh Anderson had a drastic drop-off this year. 18-19, solid. Scores 27 goals, although I will say about those goals, of course, some empty netters in there. Does have a wicked wrist shot, but there were a lot of times in that 18-19 season where he was the net front presence, which is what you want from a big body player. But I got to be honest, it's David Clarkson-esque to me, where you had players around him in that 18-19 season, like Artemi Panarin, like Seth Jones, like Ryan Murray, who's a bit underrated in terms of how well he can move the puck, to set up these chances that Anderson was just able to tap in order to get 27 goals. A big part of the reason as to the decline this year is a shoulder injury. If he's healthy and it heals 100%, you're good to go. But as anyone who suffered a shoulder injury will tell you, once you pick up a bad shoulder injury, it's never quite the same. It's just flat out, that's the case. So my concern with Josh Anderson, does he fit better than Max Domi does on the Habs? Probably. I mean, I know Domi was being played on like the fourth line, which is absurd to me, but that's Claude Julien's coaching style. Lord knows I can tell you all about Claude Julien and his attempt to get skill players to play defense on bottom lines. But, point being, Josh Anderson might fit the team a little bit better, but his health is a major concern. Because of the style that he plays, if that shoulder goes, he can't quite be as physical as he was. Maybe the wrist shot drops off a bit. That leaves him with net front presence as really his only option, and that is where I get concerned about him becoming Clarkson-esque, Milan Lucic-esque, although Lucic had a good playoff for the Calgary Flames. So, yeah, I'm concerned about Josh Anderson quite a bit. And not in a I don't want him to play my team, but for Habs fans, I'm concerned, especially when you give up Max Domi, who, I know, he cannot play defense. He fucking sucks at playing defense. But offensively, you gave that up and a third-round pick to get a former 27-goal scorer who might have been boosted up to that and who's coming off a major injury that could heavily affect his play style for the type of play that he brings. It's a win for Columbus right now. It absolutely is. Could this turn around? Sure, but now you're talking about, if you're a Habs fan, well, Josh Anderson might work for us. Joel Edmondson might work for us. You're adding up on the mights here to try and boost up what is a decent and underrated core. I don't know. I have my severe concerns. And again, we talked about it. The Winnipeg Jets being around for 10 years. They had the two different patches for this season, the 10-year patch and then the Dale Hawerchuk memorial patch there, which is, again, a great touch. And I want to talk about this, last but not least, again, Krug and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. According to Elliot Friedman, apparently the Bruins are looking like they're out on OEL, which is tremendous news to me. However, Don Sweeney is saying that they haven't really made any progress with Torrey Krug. I am just dying for the Bruins to pay Torrey Krug. Please, pay Torrey Krug. Do it. Please. Do not let this go. I get it. He's 29. You might want 5-6 years. You are still in win now mode, as much as some people don't want to admit it. But Bergeron, Marchand, there's still gas in the tank there. Pasternak, of course, it hasn't even hit his frickin' prime yet. You cannot lose an offensive, quarterback on the power play like Torrey Krug. You just can't do it. And I'm sorry, if you lose Torrey Krug and then your option is I'm going to bring in OEL, Torrey Krug is a better version of Oliver Ekman-Larsson and would probably not even cost as much. And then if your response is, let's let Torrey Krug go and then still not bring in Oliver Ekman-Larsson, sure. I mean, the Bruins have some underrated defensemen. Connor Clifton's really strong defensively. Matt Grzelcyk, I think, is better than most people give him credit for because people don't know how to say his name. I don't know. I'm a little bit worried. I am a little bit worried for the Bruins now at this stage. So we'll see what happens with all of that. With that, we've talked about a lot. I'm going to bed. It's been a long day. For those of you that hung out with me for the first round of the draft over on Twitch, I thank you for that. We did pretty damn well in terms of the amount of people hanging out, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I will see you guys later today after the second round and through the seventh round, where I'm sure some major deals will be made. But of course, you know the deal. Let me know in the comments what you thought and what's going to happen from here. I'm excited to find out.